Ah, hola, buenos días, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a mi clase de español de hoy. Bienvenidos, welcome a mi clase de español de hoy. And hoy here means today. And just notice that you don't pronounce the H in Spanish ever, so it's hoy, not hoy. Hoy. Casi en directo, almost live, but not quite. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? How are you all? ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Yo estoy muy bien. Yo estoy muy bien. I'm very well. ¿Y tú? And you? ¿Y tú? And you? And just a reminder that you've got three options really. Let's keep it simple. Muy bien, which is probably what you're going to say most of the time, hopefully. Very well. Muy bien. Muy bien. If you're not sure, regular, which kind of means so-so. And if you're really not having a good day, mal, bad, mal. Now, let me quickly move on. This is not going to be a 5-minute video, guys. I've already discovered that. We're probably going to be looking at more like 20 minutes, but hopefully it'll go quickly. So just a quick idea of the big picture. So where are we going to be heading with this string, for want of a better word, of little video lessons? So we're talking about yourself, your family, and your friends. And this is very much a GCSE topic, and it's something you'll be expected to be able to speak about and write about. So everything that we do is going to be relevant to the exam, but more generally it's going to be helping you build up your knowledge of Spanish. And the language that we'll learn is certainly lots and lots of nice describing words and adjectives. So things like physical appearance, hair and eyes, personality. We will also be looking more generally at sentence building and what are the key linking words and extending words that you need to know. Beyond that, we'll be looking at the verb to be, which is a bit of an odd one really. What does the verb to be mean? It's hard to visualize that. A verb is a doey word, isn't it, normally? So we can understand what, I don't know, write, speak, kick, play, that type of thing is. We can visualize those verbs. But the verb to be is how you essentially say things like am, is, and are. And we'll also look at the verb to have, which is a very important verb in any language, which is tener. Really quickly, because I don't want to dwell on this too much at this stage, this is the type of thing that we're going to be working up to being able to write and say. It looks very scary at this point, but we'll be doing this very gradually. And to start with, we'll be looking at the first paragraph, which is a sort of, in this case, it's a model paragraph. It's generic, general, giving you sort of a framework for talking about yourself. Now, clearly, you know, if you're not slim and not very tall, as is the case in this particular little paragraph, you can modify that. If you don't have blonde straight hair but you've got dark curly hair, I will teach you how to say that. So the 4 paragraphs we'll be working towards being able to write and say are: paragraph number 1 is a bit about yourself. Number 2 is how you would talk about a parent, a mum or a dad. I know not all of you will have siblings, but the 3rd paragraph is talking about a brother or a sister. And finally, number 4, this paragraph is talking about best friend and friends, which crops up a lot in the GCSE. Often you could be asked to describe what makes a good friend in your view, so we'll be looking at that as well. This is the Spanish. Looks extremely scary, I'm sure, at the moment for many of you, but we will be working up gradually to doing that. So the focus of today's lesson is about something called gender. And the first idea that I want to get across to you on gender is that in Spanish, all nouns, and that means things, people and places, are considered to be either masculine or feminine. Now with people, it's often obvious whether something is masculine or feminine. Let me give you an example. So the word for a brother in Spanish is un hermano. Un hermano. And again, you've got that H, which I've put in red, is silent. Hermano. Okay? So it's pretty obvious that a brother is going to be a masculine or boy thing, isn't it? Similarly, the word for a grandmother is una abuela. Una abuela. Una abuela. And I've highlighted that U and E combination because it's really common in Spanish, that. And one way of remembering how to pronounce that is to think of the English word way, W-A-Y, because that's how it sounds. Abuela. Abuela. Okay? So you can already spot, by the way, something that's quite important is for masculine things, in this case hermano, brother, if you want to say it's un. If you're describing a feminine thing, it's going to be una, una abuela. So you've got two words for un and una, depending on whether the noun is masculine or feminine. Okay? Now, with these types of words for people, often you get two for the price of one. So un hermano, as we've seen, is a brother, but una hermana, okay, you've got an A now on the end of that word, which is an indicator that something is feminine. Una hermana is a sister. Now you can probably, at this stage, guess what a grandfather might be in Spanish, using that same kind of logical approach. It's this. It's un abuelo. Un abuelo. Okay, so we've got abuela, abuelo, hermana, hermano, for brother, sister, grandfather, grandmother. Okay? Most of the time, gender is not obvious. It's not logical at all, and we don't have those guides that we would have when we're talking about people. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Here's two words in Spanish. Un dormitorio, una playa. Un dormitorio, easy word to remember, isn't it? Is a bedroom. We can think of a dormitory. Probably the easiest way to remember it. Una playa is a beach. So we can see that completely illogically, really, a bedroom is considered to be masculine, un dormitorio, and a beach is considered in Spanish to be feminine, una playa. Perhaps what I want you to notice more than anything at this stage, though, is this O on the end here where you have nouns that are masculine. That's very common. If you see a noun that's got an O on the end, it's a pretty fair bet that that's going to be a masculine thing. And if the noun has got an A, like playa, it's a very good bet that it's a feminine thing. Not always, but 99% of the time. We need to be careful when we select the word for that goes before it. So un for a masculine thing like dormitorio, un dormitorio, and una if the thing is feminine, una playa. So just to show you how awkward the gender thing is, I know French as well as Spanish quite well, yet that doesn't even help me all the time with gender, because in Spanish, for example, a car is un coche, un coche. Okay, it's masculine as it happens. In French, it's une voiture, feminine. So, what the heck? Even if you know one language, French, and you know your genders in French, it's not necessarily going to help you with Spanish. So it's all quite irritante, quite irritating. Why does this gender thing matter? Okay, so this is the second idea that I want to get across to you. Any describing words have to agree in gender with the noun. Let me read that again. Any describing words or adjectives have to agree in gender with the noun, and let me show you what that means. So we're back to granddad and grandma, abuelo, abuela. Here are some nice describing words for people that we're going to be working with. And let's just for the moment focus on the word for slim in Spanish. you've got delgado or delgada. Delgado, delgada. Now, you're probably ahead of me already on this, but if you are talking about a slim grandfather, you're going to select the masculine form of the adjective. Okay, so the adjective is delgado. So to say a slim grandfather is going to be un abuelo delgado. Un abuelo delgado. And if you want to talk about a slim grandmother, una abuela delgada. Una abuela delgada. Similarly, if you wanted to talk about, I don't know, let's go for tall now. So you've got the word alto or alta. You want to talk about a tall grandfather, un abuelo alto, un abuelo alto, or una abuela alta, una abuela alta. So this is what we mean when we talk about the describing word or adjective agreeing in gender with the noun. Okay, so fix yourselves on the fact that O is generally for masculine things and A is generally an indicator for feminine things. And it kind of is easy because in a way, if you look at una abuela, it's kind of links nicely with the A on the end of the adjective. Una abuela delgada or un abuelo delgado. So the O's match and the A's match. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is you remembering or asking yourself, how can I remember this word? Particularly new words. What techniques can I use? Maybe look at this list here and think, what are the ones that I could make a link to English with? Because that was always a help. So you might want to pause the video briefly at the moment and look at these words and think, is there any way that I could remember that word meaning whatever it is? Okay. So I look at these words and I immediately see the word alto and alta for tall, and the way I would remember that is the English word altitude, which means height, doesn't it? And alto means tall when you talk about a person. It can also mean high as well, as in I don't know, high season, whatever it could be, whatever it might be. So I think that's a very easy one to make some sort of link with in English. Possibly the next thing I would look at is simpatico and antipatico as a pair, because they're sort of opposites, aren't they? One means nice slash kind, one means mean slash nasty. You can remember simpatico maybe by the English word sympathetic. It doesn't mean the same thing, but it's close. So simpatico, nice or kind, and antipatico, as mean or nasty, is quite logical, isn't it? So they come as a pair. It's easy to remember. Simpatico, antipatico. Alto. The next one that I might look at is bajo. And the way I could help you remember this is that bajo also means, apart from short, it can mean low. And if you think of the word bass in English, it kind of means low, doesn't it? And in fact, bajo is a noun as well, which means a bass, as in a bass guitar. Bajo. So again, that might help you. Low, short, bajo, bass. There we go. Gordo. Not that easy to remember, but you might think of fat, maybe gorging. If you gorge yourself on something, you're going to get fat. And finally, delgado. Now here's a really good example of a word where we've got nothing to hang anything on here. We've got no, I can't think of anything in English that would help us much with this. So this is kind of a red level word in the sense that it's difficult to remember. There's nothing to tie it to. You just have to make an effort to remember it. So you can kind of green, amber, red words when you look at them in terms of their ease of being able to remember them. At this stage, I need to remind you guys that this language and more is already on Quizlet and Memorize for you under the Self, Family, Friends course. and that will be the way for you to practice this language and remember it in your longer term memories. Okay. Finally, on this slide, just as you've probably spotted, word order in Spanish and in French is different. So in Spanish they don't say a tall grandfather. It will be a grandfather tall, or a nice or kind grandmother will be a grandmother kind, as I've shown you here. So the describing bit, if you like, always comes after the thing it's describing. In this case it's just the one adjective, kind, but you might also see something a bit more complex where you've got a bit of language that does the describing, which is more than one word. So here we've got tall and mean, so the whole of that describey bit comes after the thing it's describing. So we wouldn't say a tall and mean sister in Spanish, we would say a sister tall and mean. Okay, you could take that to the extreme, couldn't you? You could say a slim, mean, tall sister. So in Spanish it will be a sister, slim, mean and tall. Okay, so all of that describing bit goes after the noun, the thing that is being described. So at this stage I'm going to kind of leave you to a final task on this, and the final task is to have a go at just working out how you would say these things in Spanish. And here on this side are all the language that you need, I think, to be able to do this. I've added E for and, so you need to know that word. It's spelt Y and it means and it's pronounced E. Remember when we said how you ask if you wanted to ask how somebody's feeling and you want to say and you? Yo estoy muy bien. Me, I'm very well. Y tú, and you. So E is and. You've got abuela, abuela, abuelo, hermano, hermana for brothers, sister, granddad, grandmother, and here's your adjectives here. So at this stage, pause the video, see if you can write out, which shouldn't take you too long, the 8 little phrases or sentences that I've put here. When you've done that, if you unpause this video, I will go through and check your answers with you. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go at doing this. So we'll go through these. A slim sister, una hermana delgada. So it's una hermana for sister, and look, there's an A on the end of the adjective because it's feminine, it's a girl thing, a sister. Una hermana delgada. A fat grandfather. And again, look at the word order, be careful with this. So it's not un gordo abuelo, it's un abuelo gordo, a grandfather fat. And it's gordo, not gorda, because it's a grandfather, it's a masculine thing. Tall brother. Un hermano alto. A brother tall. Un hermano alto. A kind grandmother. Una abuela simpática. A mean sister. Una hermana antipática, with the A on the end because a sister is feminine. Un abuelo alto y simpático, a tall and kind grandfather, and in Spanish, a grandfather, tall and kind. So look, all of that describey bit is coming after the noun, in this case abuelo. A short and mean brother. Un hermano, a brother, bajo y antipático. Short and mean. Short and mean. Bajo y antipático. And finally, ramping it up again, we've got 3 adjectives now to worry about. Una hermana delgada, simpática y baja. So all of that section comes after the word for a sister, the describey bit. Okay? That's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, which is a lot longer, I know, than 5 minutes, but as I say, hopefully you've learnt a bit from this. You can look back at it. Don't forget to go on to Memrise and Quizlet and practice this. Start practicing this language. Ideally, sort of 10 minutes a day. That's it. Hasta luego, which means sort of see you later. Hasta la próxima vez, until the last time. Adios.